So this is day 21 now with our Pavlik Harness, and we're officially 3 weeks in, which is great. We've just come back from Max's checkup, and I went armed with my letters and my questions to basically get some answers. I did bump into a lady in the waiting room. I saw her daughter was also sitting there in harness, and I sort of went over and we sort of had a chat about her experience so far, and about, you know, how old her daughter was and why she was referred for sort of a scan to start with. And I'm just finding it really interesting to hear other people's stories and sort of compare notes, essentially. So there's a little bit of camaraderie in these things. Like, you know, I've said before, like, the communities I've found online have been like amazing in sharing information, and I'm speaking to such lovely people, and that whenever now I see somebody, you know, that I can speak to, I sort of try and do that. But yeah, so that was nice. So I do feel like I got some questions answered today. So essentially those Galazi, Bottoli test things that I was referring to in the letters that I didn't know what they were called. I don't have the letters to hand, so that's probably not correct at all. So those are essentially tests to see if the hip can be popped out, and if it can be popped out, can it be popped back in, and how easily it can be popped back in. But Max's were negative because his hips aren't dislocated and they can't be dislocated, so that's positive and that makes sense. I did ask questions around what the terms deficient bony rim and adequate bony rim meant, and what she was saying is in babies there's some cartilage and some bone in the hips, and babies with dysplasia have more cartilage than bone, and it's just basically a way of describing how that bone or cartilage is sitting. So one of Max's hips is deficient in terms of the rim, like the socket that holds it in, and one is adequate. What she did say was that at his scan in 2 weeks' time is if they have both moved to having a good bony rim, then he'll be able to come out the harness for 1 hour a day. And then potentially another 4 weeks after that, we might not need the harness at all, or maybe just at night. Given one of them was deficient, that would mean moving up sort of 2 grades in 2 weeks. And she said that, you know, it would be highly unlikely for that to happen. And then if that's the case, that one is adequate and one is good, then he'll be in the harness full time, definitely for another 4 weeks until we have another scan, and then probably maybe part-time 4 weeks after that, which does just feel like really long. I know that will take us sort of like 12-13 weeks, which is what we're expecting the treatment to be, but when you say it like that, it feels like blooming ages. But we'll just keep our fingers crossed. His abductor movement, she said, was like 75 degrees today. I'd asked her why it deteriorated so much between the first and second appointment, and she said that's quite common. The baby sort of just tense up and to sort of just restrict the movement. I don't know why that would be, but, you know, it is what it is. The fact that it's improved to 75 degrees is sort of amazing anyway, so we're just hoping that that keeps going the way it's going. I did actually ask lots of questions about Freddie while I was there, and his referral that we're now sort of waiting on. So we may possibly get sent for an x-ray for him in the next 2 weeks or so, just to double check. The lady did actually tell me that he likely would have been sent for checking anyway, regardless of me flagging anything, because once a sibling has been diagnosed with dysplasia, they will check other siblings, regardless of him being older, just to make sure there is no issues. She did say, you know, again, reassured me in the same way that the other physio had done, that as sort of other checks that he'd had in relation to leg length and leg creases, all were fine and have been fine since he was first assessed at 10 months, and it's really unlikely that there would be a problem. And I did ask what the next stages would be if he did require any treatment. And what she said is that they can actually try and manually just move the hip if it's just sort of slightly out of joint. I guess it's a little bit like if you dislocate something. If you dislocated your shoulder, they just sort of pop it back in. They almost could do that sort of procedure, which is like far less invasive than some of the stuff that I'm seeing in relation to surgery and stuff, which we're not even thinking about. I doubt we even need that, but we're just being super cautious. But yeah, it's nice to speak to people. I'm feeling like I'm getting a lot more information now than I was before. Maybe it's the questions that I'm asking, maybe it's the people that I'm seeing. You know, I wasn't clearly in the best headspace when we went to Max's appointment where he had his harness fitted, so potentially information that they were giving me I wasn't taking in, or that they know from experience not to give parents lots of information at those appointments because they're not going to be listening. But yeah, oh, pop it. She assessed Max's harness again today and said all was fine. She did say how lovely his strap bumpers were, the little soft covers I got to put over them. And I was actually amazed that she'd never seen those before. She was asking me where I'd got them from. I thought, you know, that was quite common, as sort of all the groups I'm in, people seem to be talking about them. So yeah, that surprised me. She did say that Max's right leg was still like moving around a bit, and I think where he's just got quite a bit more movement now, which is positive, he's trying to be a little bit of a ninja and escape the harness. So we just need to make sure that we're making sure that's in nice and tight and pulling it around wherever we need to, and if we do have any more concerns about the way it's fitting, sort of to go back or to contact them sooner rather than later. Everyone I've spoken to at the hospital now makes reference to Max's experience to date. I thought it was potentially quite normal for them to give a video call in those sort of situations if parents couldn't get to the hospital, but yeah, maybe I was wrong, and now I feel like that was really great service to have got from them. So I'm really grateful that they were able to do that for us when we were on holiday. But yeah, we're just going to keep plodding on. We've got another 2 weeks, as I said, until our next scan. So yeah, we'll just wait it out and see what happens. But if anything else crops up in the meantime, I will come on and let you know. But yeah, catch you later.